Welcome everybody, my name is EruptionFang, and this is episode 9 of Nomad of Nowhere, titled Compass. So after the train wreck that happened last episode, both Scout and the Nomad are on the run from Tauros' champion. The Nomad tries to look out for Scout, saying that she should run since he's after him, but considering the Nomad is Scout's only ticket to redemption, she chooses to stay. Meanwhile with Toth, she makes it to the train station after its crash. I don't know how this crash managed to get all the way back, but let's just ignore that. Toth believes that the Nomad caused all of this to happen, but the people tell her that he actually saved them. Toth, of course, does not believe them, writing it off as them being dazed. Why would I believe you, multiple people who are all having the same delusion, when I, who was not there, can tell you what really happened? Things almost get physical, and the people are forced to reveal where the Nomad went. Meanwhile, back with Scout and the Nomad, they manage to make their way to a small abandoned town where they end up bonding a little bit. Much like the last time, they are tracked down and subsequently dropped into a mine. Side note here, I don't know how wells work, never seen one, never encountered one, but this is wrong, right? It's not supposed to lead into some giant underground mining system. That's a lot of water that needs to get filled for that well to be useful. I mean, it would probably explain why the entire town is dead. You know what, the well actually does make a lot of sense in context now. Never mind. So Scout and the Nomad end up getting separated, leaving the Nomad to deal with the champion on his own. For whatever reason, the Nomad refuses to fight, instead trying to flee. This leads Scout to get involved, defeating Tauros' champion on her own. She claims the compass as the prize, and everyone lives happily ever after. Or at least they would have, if not for Red Manuel. He's been following Tauros' champion as he knew he would be capable of finding the Nomad. And now he intends to turn him in himself so he can claim the reward. In both a shocking and not so shocking surprise, Scout refuses to aid in the capture of the Nomad as she believes him to be good. Red Manuel is pleased to hear this as he needed a reason to kill her, and he fires a shot, but the Nomad saves her, getting shot himself. Oh boy, that's a cliffhanger. It's a weird cliffhanger in my opinion, because this feels like a penultimate episode. Like next episode should end the season, but this is episode 9. Considering that they took a break at episode 6, you'd think there'd be at least 12 episodes in the first season, but I digress. I really only believe there to be 2 outcomes that follow this, with a bunch of variables in between. First off, the Nomad. I think it's a safe assumption that he's not dead. I mean, he could be. It's a bold choice if they choose to kill him off. But the Nomad lives, alright? Second, the light in his chest. We have no idea what the hell it is. It's been a thing like every other episode, but it's never done anything so far. He was shot in the chest, not even the chest, more like the heart, so they can't lie and be like, oh, the bullet just missed his heart. Because you're an idiot if you think that that placement would miss the heart. But then question comes into play, does he even have a heart? Does he even have human anatomy? I think not, because I don't think he's dead, and being shot in the heart kills most humans. So I don't know what he is, but here's how I think things will play out, and it's very cliche. I think the Nomad, very similar with what happened with the Undertaker, is going to lose control of his magic. But not in the same way where he willingly brought everything to life. I think the light was like a jar of magic, and he was becoming stronger as it built up more and more. And being shot shattered this jar, and now it's just gonna release a whole bunch of magic out and about that's gonna bring a whole bunch of stuff to life, which may or may not kill Red Manuel, all depending on the direction of the show. Like, the show was all kid-friendly at the start, and then a bitch got stabbed, and you thought, huh, maybe this is not as kid-friendly of a show as I thought. But in reality, it's still like 90% kid-friendly. So Red Manuel may or may not literally be murdered. But I think Toth is going to show up, and her suspicions of the Nomad being a very evil entity will be confirmed, and she'll save Scout. And Scout will once again see the Nomad as evil and be on Toth's side once more. That's the direction I see this going. By the time you see this video, the next episode will already have been released, and I'll have gotten a bunch of comments saying how much of a complete idiot I am because I wasn't close whatsoever, or I was right and I cheated. Here's why I don't want what I said to happen. First, it's very cliche, and we've already been down this path in this exact show. Toth hates the Nomad, and Scout is indifferent. Then, she meets the Nomad and thinks he's a good guy. Something bad happens and Toth pins the blame on the Nomad, but Scout defends him. Scout's mind then changes and thinks the Nomad is evil. But then, the cycle will have continued. Scout once again interacts with the Nomad and becomes indifferent. but then eventually determines that he's a good person. If the Nomad goes berserk next episode and Scout sees him as evil and joins Toth once again, it's just very cliche and it would seem like an endless cycle. I don't want to jump to conclusions about how the storytelling in this show has handled things because this is really the first major plot event that has happened. In the show's defense, however, a very cliche thing to have done this episode would be when Red Manuel was pulling the trigger to have Toth come in and interrupt it. But that didn't happen, he actually shot someone. So that's a good avoidance of a cliche. But here's what I want to happen, because I already told you what I thought would happen. I still think the Nomad goes berserk and Red Manuel gets offed and Toth sees it all. But what I think would be a really good twist would be if Toth tries to save Scout and take her back, but Scout refuses and sticks with the Nomad. Because Toth, and I've never really noticed this until this episode, is an antagonist. She really is just a bad guy. She's just like all of the other bounty hunters. The reason I've been seeing Toth as this sort of good guy was because of Scout. Scout's the reason Toth has been being seen as a good guy. Remove Scout from the equation, Toth is an antagonist. Yes, she has her own goal that involves her people, but considering we as the audience still have no real answer as to what exactly it is, it's just a motivation, and all characters have one. So if Scout were to just deny going with Toth because of the fact that she's blinded with rage and stick with the Nomad for the good guy that he is, then I think that'd be a good twist. But I don't think that'll happen. I do believe the extremely cliche series of events will play out as I said earlier. Or something completely irrelevant to what I've been saying will happen, and I'll look like a complete idiot for spending like 4 minutes talking about a thing that never happened. In conclusion, this was a very good episode. Last episode felt like it was all just set up, and that's not a good thing, because this episode also felt like setup, but things actually happened. Characters felt like characters with their own motivation. Scout siding with the Nomad was good, Red Manuel being tired of acting second wheel was good, and actually having suspicion as to what'll happen next was also great. Nothing's worse than having an injury done to a character that you know doesn't matter, but the show tries to play it off as though it's a big thing. Take for example Scout's injury in episode 6. It wasn't a big thing, and the show didn't try to leave off on some sort of epic cliffhanger that had the audience on the edge of their seats because everyone knew her life wasn't actually at risk. They just took her to the hospital and she was fine, like most things tend to be. But with the Nomad, it's hardly a question of whether or not he'll live or die, but it's what'll happen. We don't know what the hell is going on with him. Is he even human? Is he a demon of some kind? No one knows what to expect. This is an appropriate cliffhanger to leave the audience on. If it was a human, the audience would just think, well, that person's dead. But for a mysterious character, the show has done right. It's actually amazing how well this show has been playing out. The decisions it makes storytelling wise, it gives us enough answers to keep us interested but keeps raising more questions in the process, and character motivations. And weirdly enough, I don't consider this a plot-driven show. Yes, there is a plot, most definitely, but a good chunk of the episodes so far have been their own enclosed story. Like certain episodes you can watch in whatever order, not every episode is told in a linear fashion. Most episodes have been, here's a problem, here's a solution, moving on. And the plot is just a bonus. And it surprises me how well this has done at keeping the plot interesting for it not being the main focus. I think the writers and the people who are working on the show have done an amazing job, and hopefully it keeps up. So for now, that is going to do it for this episode. Be sure to let me know what you guys thought of the episode down in the comments. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you're interested in more content like this. Consider becoming a sponsor over on Patreon. You get all the content early, and it really does help out the channel. Be sure to follow me on all social medias, and I'll see you in the next video.